Hello, friends. Welcome to this extra special little bonus episode of Fearless with me, Shawna Clingerman. I am your host, Shawna Clingerman. I'm a full time artist and creative mentor. And simply put, I believe in living, loving, and creating without fear. This episode is a little different because it is just an extra bonus. Every once in a while on a Friday, I'm going to throw a bonus at you. And these episodes are going to be less structured. They often won't even have a starter outline. And I'll probably use them to address really specific time sensitive things and to just share kind of on a more unfiltered level. So today I want to talk to you just a little bit. Actually, we'll see how much it ends up being about something that I know so many of my customers and my followers have been curious about and asking questions and maybe speculating a little bit about. And that, my friends, is about why I made the decision to step down from my role as an artist for the team at Illustrated Faith. So, if you are new to me and you happen to be listening to this episode, first of all, I just want to warn you, is going to be a little bit more faith centric. And the reason for that is that my decision about Illustrated Faith does have to do with faith. And in order to talk about stepping down from that role, I'm going to have to talk about Christianity and my personal belief system and the community of people in the Bible journaling community. All of that is very, 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 very faith based. And I want to warn you of that because I don't have any expectation that just because you are listening to this, you have the same belief system as me or the same belief system as anyone. So please feel free to just skip over this if you're not curious about my religious background and my faith journey and my decision to step away from designing for faith based products specifically. But I know a lot of people are curious. And so I'm just going to share. And I want you to know that what I share here is not going to put you, if you are not a Christian person, I am not going to share anything right now that is going to make you feel like you are bad or unworthy or like you need to be different. That is just really important. And I'm going to start us off with that, which interestingly enough, probably gives a lot of my friends who are religious a little bit of perspective on my reasoning for stepping down from the team at Illustrated Faith. So before I go even a step further, what order should I do this in? Let's start with this blanket disclaimer, because if you don't make it through this whole episode, this is a very important thing that I want you to hear. Friends, there is no drama here. And what I mean by that is I have no negative feelings, hurt, wounding, frustration, irritation, anger, judgment. I have none of that for Illustrated Faith and the amazing people that run that team. And for Shauna Noel, the owner of that company, I will share more in a few minutes. But friends, I am really grateful for my time with Illustrated Faith. And always, 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 I was treated with love and kindness and compassion and respect. So I want to put that out there because I know that the way that communities can get, these tight-knit communities of everybody kind of doing the same thing and thinking the same thing, sometimes there can be a little bit of drama, or the presumption of drama, or the expectation that there's some sort of beef. And I just wanted to spell that because I really, first of all, am not a drama person. I just would rather not do that. And second of all, I love Illustrated Faith. I love the team. I love the way that company has operated, and I feel loved by them. So I just wanted to start with that. Now let's roll back, go back in time just a little bit, and let me tell you about my history with Illustrated Faith and a little bit of my history in the church and kind of how I ended up there. And then we'll move on to kind of how I chose to step away. So I am 42 years old, almost. I'm not quite 42. I know the year that my birthday changes, so I always just start saying the next age as soon as because I was born on a zero. I was born in 1980, so every calendar year kind of represents an age for me. But that being said, I'm not 42 yet. I'm 41. But that means that I've been on the earth for quite some time, and I kind of have an interesting, unique past in that I grew up very, like, from birth, raised religious, which is not uncommon, but also not super common amongst Christians. There's a lot of people that did not grow up with faith as part of their childhood. But not only did I grow up from the get-go in the church, I was a pastor's kid. My dad was a worship pastor the entire time I was growing up. And I am also a missionary kid, which means that our family moved away as missionaries when I was just a wee child. From the ages of 8 to 11, we lived in Mexico. Now, I mean, I can't possibly explain to you all of the feelings I have about all of these things because they're complicated and nuanced, just like life is. My time in Mexico was a beautiful and hard. My family of origin was um, beautiful and hard, for lack of a better way of saying it. And our relationship to faith, um, my relationship to faith was beautiful and hard. And so all of that is just precursor information to kind of explain where I was at 5.5 years ago when Shawna Noel invited me to join the team at Illustrated Faith. I grew up as a Christian my entire life, went away to a very conservative college. It was called Grove City College. I also spent my whole childhood wrestling, trying to be enough, trying to be lovable. And that's not God's fault. But the structure of the way that so many things were talked about in church and the structure of my family that was a little bit dysfunctional, maybe a lot dysfunctional is a better word. All of those, institutions kind of molded me into somebody that was really, really insecure, um, constantly worried that I was not good enough. And by good enough, I mean like good, like actual, like that moral right or wrong good. Um, and I learned to walk the line. I learned to be a very, very good little Christian high school girl and young child. And when I went away to college, I was burnt out. I was like really tired. I had been working so hard for so long and feeling so inadequate in all of my hard work that the um the culture, the very conservative culture at the school I went to, plus my very first taste of freedom because I did grow up in a house that was very strict, all of that kind of accumulated into me just feeling like I'm on video here doing this little like pull back defensive posture. And I would say that when I was 19, it was the first time I recognized having that feeling in conjunction with people of faith, with Christian culture, with uh, just the church as a whole. I don't know if I felt those feelings about God specifically because um, I don't know. There's something about the relationship that I had with him growing up with God. I don't know. I don't know what the separating thing was between the way that the church and Christian people were making me feel and the way that I felt about God. But I'm really grateful that for me, it felt distinctive and it always has. And I think it always will. And I'm grateful for that clarity because it's allowed me to navigate big questions about Christian culture at large without feeling like I have to like let go of this idea of a good God. So, all that to say that in college, um, I just was fed up. I was tired. I was done following the rules, like very done following the rules. And if you know me, if you have met me before, if you've worked with me, if you've had a conversation with me, you probably have seen that I'm kind of an all or nothing type of person. I like dive in. That is me. So when I was fed up and frustrated, I dove into that. And so I just kind of walked away from so many of the rules that I had like molded myself around for so long. I kind of let go of the need to fit in that box. And I'll tell you the truth, in some ways, that was one of the best things it was one of the most like healing, empowering things I've ever done. So I give you that information about my past and that like little catch up on Shawna's faith story to simply kind of explain to you how I have gotten to where I am today. When Shawna Noel asked me to join the team on at Illustrated Faith 5.5 years ago, I was still just leery. I was leery of Christian people who wanted me to be a certain way, who had a lot of ideas about what was right and wrong that I just don't actually subscribe to. And I was nervous. I was nervous because I have been very judged in my life. We have all been very judged in our lives. And the truth is, the harshest judgments that I have underwent throughout my entire life over and over again have been put upon me in the name of faith, in the name of Jesus, in the name of God. And so when I started Bible journaling personally, like on my own, like with watercolor, like it was my very own little thing. I had no intention of becoming an artist for anything faith-based. Not at all. I had no intention of joining the print and pray shop. My intention was simply to create, to build my own faith in my own way, kind of separate from all the churchy stuff that I was still a little leery of. We, as a family, go to a church that I love. I've found ways to find safe spaces, but even in those safe spaces, I hold back a little. I always have. And ever since I kind of stepped away in my youth from following all the rules and being the perfect Christian, I have avoided being in too tight of community with those people that had judged me so harshly in the past. So, Illustrated Faith was an incredible opportunity. I knew that. Also, I was really loving my Bible journaling experience, and it just felt right. I actually said no the first time, took a little time, and then when I was ready, I said yes because I didn't want to step into something with reservations, with a bad attitude, with judgments in mind. That's something I try really carefully to avoid. So if I'm noticing resistance, I try to wait. And I waited until it felt like the right time. Then in October of 2015, I wrote it on a sticky note. I lost it. Anyways, when I was ready, I stepped up and I stepped into this role. So since then, I have found some amazing things. I am 100% just going to be straight up honest with you about the good and the bad. And so let's start with the incredible gifts that I found during that time. Actually, I'm going to link in the show notes a Instagram post where I talked about the incredible gift of finding a sense of belonging within a churchy community because I had been so afraid previously of being judged by people that do that Bible talk thing. You know what I mean. Anybody who either has attended church or been around Christian people, there's like a talk people start doing. And for me, that had become like a warning sign. And so when I stepped into this world of people that were all very passionate about their faith, I had to take that step when I knew that I wasn't going to prejudge people for, using like churchy talk, that I wasn't going to assume people were going to hate me when I was ready to be as open-hearted as I want the world to be with me. And so I did. And what I found was a community of really incredible people. I found a lot of people that, first of all, really were so grateful for the artwork that I was creating and watching people resonate with my heart, things in the Bible that really were meaningful to me. Watching people resonate with that was really powerful. Also, really powerful was showing up in that space and still sticking to my own authentic self, which means that I didn't hop on Instagram lives and start with a prayer. And I didn't, do the church talk thing because I stopped doing that a long time ago and I just can't. I can't. I didn't pretend to be exactly like everyone else. And I knew that was how it would have to be if I was going to create a home for myself here. Um, but I was kind of surprised at how warm of a reception I had from most people in my imperfect square peg round hole kind of a way. Not only that, but even more importantly, the team at Illustrated Faith was so good to me. When we got together in person at our very first retreat, I was so nervous. Friends, I don't even go to Bible studies because I get really uncomfortable about this expectation that I have in my head that people have for me. in those spaces. And I was nervous about going to a retreat with Christian women who were leaders. And what would they think of me? And would they want me to pray out loud, which is, by the way, something I don't like to do anymore? Would they want me to, would they need me to look like them? Because I knew that I wouldn't. And at that first retreat, I shared that honestly with the ladies there. I just put my heart out on the table. I said, words like condemnation make me feel uncomfortable. I said, I don't think being gay is wrong. I said things that I thought would get me ostracized. And instead, I was just received with love. Not with like a, hey, we're all on the same page. And um, there wasn't this permeating energy that we all had to be operating from the exact same set of rules. Instead, there was this permeating energy of love. And that's what I believe in. So that kept me right there in that space. And it opened up my heart and it allowed me to show up in the more public spaces in a more honest, a more vulnerable, and a more real life Shawna kind of a way. That I will always be grateful for because there's some things you can only unlearn through practice. You know what I mean? There's some things that you can only, well, learn or unlearn. But I had to unlearn my fear of showing up honestly in faith based spaces. And the time that I spent at Illustrated Faith gave me that. And it was a beautiful gift. It also connected me with people that I would have previously been so afraid of. Not the team specifically, but just all the community. I was so scared of Christian people. I can't even tell you. And here I was, I had been like kind of led into this role that people were almost looking to me as a leader, which I would not have actually ever imagined or even chosen because I was scared of that. I am really grateful because I'm not scared anymore of that. And I've learned some things. I've learned that sometimes when we say the hard things in a faith-based space, um, the things that we're sure other people are going to reject us for, sometimes when we do that, what ends up happening is that we create space for other people that feel unseen and unloved and scared, just like I did. And I don't know that I would have. I know that I have always had a heart for creating space for people and loving people as they are, but I don't know that I would have imagined that I could do that in the context of a faith-based community. And showing up that way, it made me braver. It made my skin just a little bit thicker because truth be told, not everybody loves what I believe. Not everybody resonates with the places that I diverge from mainstream faith. Um, and that's okay. Some people were nicer than others about it. Mostly mostly the people that were I used to joke, and only people that are in like faith-based communities are even going to know this term, but I used to joke that I had a hedge of protection around me because although I knew that there were people that had very strong opinions about the things I shared, especially in regards to homosexuality, especially in regards to things like, oracle cards and crystals, which, spoiler alert, also don't think those are evil. Um, for me, because really, who else am I deciding for? there were definitely people that was frightening to them. It brought up fear for them. And most of those people left me alone. It's that hedge of protection. Most of those people talked to other people about it or accidentally sent me screenshots where they were talking bad about me. That happened. But in the end, 99.9% of the people I interacted with either had a lot of grace and a lot of respect for me just being me, or resonated and needed to hear somebody saying something similar. So during my time at Illustrated Faith, I did kind of take on a bit of a mission, for lack of a better term. I started to see this direction in front of me that was very important. And I stand by that it was exactly what I was called to at that time. And it was this mission of carving out some space in this mainstream religious culture, carving out some space for people on the margins, for the people that think that because they're gay, they're unlovable, or because they're not harshly judging their gay children or relatives, that they were wrong. There were people that needed me to say, hey, you know what, there's space for this too. There there are people that needed that perspective, and my voice was right there for that exact reason. And I'm proud of myself, honestly, because if you remember from the first part of my story, I am not somebody that wanted to stand out for being different in church spaces. I wanted to be just right. I wanted everybody to see me and be like, oh, that girl, she's a good one. She's doing it all just right. And so the work of sometimes publicly stepping out and saying things that I knew would bring people to a different conclusion than that was real work for me. And it made me stronger. It made me bolder. It it clarified for me some beliefs that I hadn't really put a lot of thought into, because I can I'm not a rule follower. I'm a very gray area type of a person. And so it's easy for me to just be like, oh, whatever, whatever, whatever. And when I spoke out in more public ways about things that I knew people would disagree with, I had to kind of examine my beliefs and get clear and get confident and get comfortable with being that dissenting voice. So I did. And I tried. And I think that I did a pretty decent job of not expecting everyone to fall in line with me, just like I wasn't going to fall in line with everyone else. I tried to be generous with my assumptions about those people that did disagree with me. I tried to be compassionate toward the people that I could tell were obviously afraid, um, when when something about their belief system was brought into question. And truth be told, I really am holding my head up high because I feel proud of the way I showed up in that space. And I feel good about those years, and good about the connections I made, and really good about the people that I created some space for, because I know that I did that. And that makes me want to just cry a little bit, because that is what is most meaningful to me, probably out of everything in this world. So, hearing all that, maybe you're thinking, well, but wait, if you had a beautiful experience, if the people were kind to you, if you had a hedge of protection, which I can't say without laughing, My apologies for that joke for anybody who's like, what is she talking about? So when you hear all of those things, maybe you're like, well, this makes zero sense because you stepped down from something that was beautiful and working for you. And that's where we get to the next piece. Because although it was beautiful and meaningful, and I'm proud of the work I did during that time and the things I learned and the people I connected with and the ways my heart was softened and my courage and all of that. Also, I probably in I want to say like October of 2021, which or maybe even earlier in the year in 2021, but especially as the year kept going on, I started to realize that something was happening in my business and in my communities that was moving me further and further away from my own personal vision, my own personal value system. It was, there was something that was happening that was creating the opposite of what I strive to do when I show up in any space in any way. And what I'm talking about here, it's kind of complicated because if you're listening to this and you're not a believer or you have a complicated relationship with faith, I think you're going to understand 100% what I'm saying. If you are listening to this and you are very comfortable as part of the mainstream Christian faith, this might feel almost exclusive to you. And so before I say even another word, I want to reiterate what I will say on this podcast over and over and over and over again. And it is this: it is okay with me. And I am saying this with my full heart. It is okay with me if you disagree with me. It is okay with me if you are happily planted in an evangelical church that feels like home to you and you feel loved and accepted and right at home, then I am happy for you. Nothing but just honor for your own journey because we all have different things to do in this world. We do. We just do. What I want to share here is not to say that that you don't belong here, but instead to say that I want to actively do some work to to like widen the demographic of the type of person that feels safe when they are in my communities, when they are in my spaces, when they are working through my programs. I have a very clear calling in my heart, on my mind. I have a very, very articulated vision. Remember when I shared my manifesto in episode 1? You can go back and listen if you haven't yet. I really believe in everyone feeling like they belong exactly as they are. I really believe in everyone feeling loved and accepted and welcome and 100% allowed to be themselves and live their best life, no matter what, no matter what, no matter what your belief system is, no matter what your gender, your sexual orientation, none of that do I ever want to be some sort of a barrier between you feeling comfortable and safe participating in anything that I offer. When you land on my Instagram posts, I don't want you to feel on the outside. I want you to feel on the inside. When you listen to this podcast, I don't want you to feel like you don't belong. I want you to feel like you belong right here. And The truth is, and when I say this, I think that I'm saying this mostly to my more religious audience. The truth is, friends, I hate to say this out loud because it's a little harsh and a little heartbreaking, a lot heartbreaking. But, but the American Christian church at large has not done a very good job of creating safe spaces. We have not done a good job of like branding ourselves as loving, inclusive people. We haven't. And what I started to notice last year was just that as I was as I was at Illustrated Faith for longer and longer, more and more time, my communities just naturally started becoming more saturated with religious people. And like I told you before, I used to be scared of religious people, not scared of them anymore. I loved having every single one of you. If you are one of those religious people, I loved having you in my community and I still do. This is not like a ticket, this is not like a ticket asking you to exit. I don't know what those things are called. This is not like a pass saying, "Hey, move along now." Instead, stepping down from Illustrated Faith was a way that I could publicly and very clearly put my money where my mouth is. It is a way that I can tell all of those people that are on the margins of faith or maybe not even in faith at all, that I can very clearly and straightforwardly say, "Hey, I am not only here to serve you if you are a Bible reader slash believer slash Bible journaler." I wanted to really clarify that the people I want to work with are all the people that are in search of a fearless, love centered, creative life. Some of those people are going to be devout believers in a variety of faiths, and some of those people are going to be atheists, and some of those people are going to be stay-at-home moms with, with your traditional husband and your 2.5 children, and some of those people are going to be gay people, trans people, people that are choosing the single life. My intention was never to build a business that would only serve religious people. And as I built up more and more of an inventory and more time in those spaces, I had sent out a memo unintentionally to anybody that was looking my way that I am a Christian company. And my company is not a faith-based company. It won't be. It wasn't. And although I am a believer, I am not a person that leads with my Christianity. That's not how I've ever connected. I have friends that are all sorts of faiths, and I love them deeply because I love people that love people. And in the end, when I really sat with it, I just knew that the only way for me to start to widen and truly represent true inclusion is to just put that part of my business away. And I don't have any regrets about it at all. I'm going to tell you one more story, and then friends, this has been a while, so we're just going to be done after that. When I was designing my collection for February and I chose the theme of love, I sat down to do that project and I started looking at Bible verses like I always do when I'm creating for Illustrated Faith. And I kept finding so many beautiful passages about love, which love, friends, if I haven't said it before, is what I believe in the most. When I started to take those passages and turn them into journal cards and illustrate hearts and really evaluate which verses to use, I noticed something happening for me that was, it's not new, but it was the most extreme version of this because my theme was love, I think. I started feeling like every scripture I chose, that there were going to be people that used that journal card to be unloving. They were going to use that passage of scripture to clobber people who disagree with them on certain issues that the church has decided to make, paramount. I started to feel like um almost like I felt years and years and years ago, where I was anxious and I was worried about the judgment and I was frustrated because my intention was not to give anybody confirmation in the idea that all people are not created equal. I didn't want anybody to use my work to reinforce prejudice and exclusion and hatred and judgment. I started to feel like it was a trap. Like there's no way that I could protect those people that I wanted to feel safe from those people that wanted to judge them, even if I did a collection that was entirely based on love. And the next morning, after crying and walking away from that collection, turning it in, not feeling very proud of it, and feeling so much like turmoil in my soul. The next morning, I woke up and on my Instagram, I found a link to a YouTube video that I had was created by somebody I didn't even know about, that I'd never followed before. And the YouTube video, now bear with me because this is going to be hard for some of you, and that's okay. The YouTube video was titled Why God Wants Me to Be a Gay Pastor. And I don't think I've made any secret about that. I think that you can be a gay pastor, but the timing of my like feeling so torn up and then opening up my Instagram, somebody random linking something random from someone who was on the margins, from the type of person that I relate to and identify with as somebody that's not just 100% mainstream myself. And not only that, he was modeling for me this courage because he is a pastor. He has people that follow him, and he chose to publicly say something that he knew would put him under fire in the Christian community that he served. And I'm going to link that video in the show notes as well, because I think that it is beautiful. You don't have to watch it. It's kind of long, but it resonated with me in a way. I'm sorry if you're hearing my dog make noises. That's just part of the game around here. But when I watched that video from Mike, his name is Mike Maraschino. I can't say his name right, but I'm going to link him because if you are looking for resources on this very subject, which I know that a lot of Christians are, although a lot of us are doing it by by the what's the word? There's like a little expression I can't think of, but we're doing it by like the dark of night so that nobody knows because it's so scary and it's um so volatile in the Christian community. Um, so if you're looking for resources, I'm going to send you his way. And actually, I just want you to know that I'm going to be sharing more things like that because I knew after releasing that collection, finishing that collection, having all of that angst, after a year of kind of thinking about, wait a minute, how can I do both things? Protect the people on the margins, create safe spaces, and design for this very mainstream faith space. After all of this had been kind of percolating in my brain, and then I saw this video, I knew that I had to make a change because I am a person that wants to show up as I am, because I am a person who wants to give you permission to show up as you are. I am a person that wants to be vulnerable about the things that are hard or scary, or maybe just the things that I know you disagree with me on and will make you like me less. All of that is very scary for me, but it is part of my journey to my fearless, creative, wholehearted life. And so it just was crystal clear. My husband said to me, wait a minute, you don't have to keep doing this job if it feels like it is, if it's hurting you, if it's hard for you, if it's breaking your heart. And although in so many ways it filled up my heart, that struggle was breaking my heart over and over and over again. Not just me, it's breaking a lot of people's hearts. And if I'm showing up honestly, being myself, unafraid, and yet I'm too afraid to talk about this issue and other issues that involve human people that deserve to be loved, then I'm not I'm not being true. I'm not being real. I'm not doing what I was called to do. And I knew that in order to widen my community and in order to get more vocal, I needed to step away because I don't want what I say and the things that I represent to be under the brand of illustrated faith and to put them in any awkward positions. I don't I don't want to be this dissenting voice that creates drama and turmoil and debate. That's not actually how I want to do it. I want to show up with truth and with love and with real, honest, fully accepting love that means that you don't have to fit the mold. And so making that choice was the the only step I could think to do that would truly differentiate me from just your average assumption about what most Christians are like. And I say assumption, but honestly, it's a fair assumption. Like, Christian friends, if you are listening to this and you are a Christian, I want you to maybe just sit with that for a minute, because this idea that Christians are judgmental and kind of cruel, it's not, nobody made that up. The church has reinforced that over and over and over again. And I'm not going to do it. I'm not even going to let my silence be something that props up and reinforces ideas that I just truly do not believe are right. So there you have it. And also, I'm feeling nervous because that was a very assertive statement. And I always want to like just pull back a little, backpedal a little, but I mean it. So I'm going to stick with it. What does this mean in the future? Oh, so many things, but really not that much at the same time. The main thing that it means is that I will no longer be designing with a Christian audience in mind. That's what it means. Does it mean you're never going to see a Bible verse in my stories, on my feed, in a design of mine? No, because sometimes I think those things are really inspirational if we can release them from all the judgment that is attached to them. Does it mean that I have lost my faith? Not at all, but also that's none of your business. I am pretty solidly sure that I don't want my faith to be the world's business. I want you to know that I love people well. And if you are a believer in Jesus, then that's what he asked us to do. And if you're not a believer in Jesus, I want you to know that I'm here to love people well. That's it. Period. I don't have anything to sell you after that. I mean, I have things to sell you, workshops and courses, and I'm going to have new printables that start appearing and products and all of that. But I'm not here to sell you my faith because that is a very personal thing to me. And I think that I want to respect it being a personal thing for you too. This is by far the most I'm going to talk about faith on this podcast. And the reason for that is because of exactly everything I've already said. Until faith changes its rep, until Christians stop reinforcing the memo that everybody that isn't a Christian is judged and less than and not enough and a sinner and going to hell, yada, yada, yada. I actually don't want to put that label in front of the work I do because that label makes people feel unwelcome. And I'm not going to do that. So my faith is like, I don't even want to say strong. It's sweet. It's beautiful. It is like something that feeds me deep down inside. But it is not some sort of precursor to why we should be friends, to why I want to talk to you or not, to what I believe about you and your life choices. That is where I want to cut things off. And when I teach in workshops, when I offer programs, I want people to know that I'm not selling you my faith. I'm not. What I want to teach you about is how to love yourself better, how to take care of yourself, how to give yourself permission, how to create in ways that make you feel confident and fulfilled. Those are the things that I want to offer you. And then I'm just going to trust you to find your own way because that's pretty much what I feel called to do. This is a long episode. I thought it might be, but I hope that in listening to me share a little bit about my story, a lot about my heart, and all about kind of my why for stepping away from this incredible role that has been so kind to me. I hope that you can take what I've shared with grace and that you can trust me because I trust myself because I've done a lot of work to really examine what is right and wrong for me. And so I don't actually need any help there. The help I need there is very personal, but I don't need that from people, people at large. We're taking in so much information about what we should believe from Joe Schmo. And what I want to do is say, think about what you want to believe from you, because that's where belief is born. It's in your heart. If you are a religious person, we believe that God is in us, actually in us, which means that I can trust myself as I navigate hard questions, as I choose what's right for my business, and as I intentionally choose the way that I want to show up in public spaces and in the world. Friends, this space is for you. I hope that that is the memo that you are receiving, and I want to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep welcoming you. My dog has a shaking thing happening. Dexter, stop. I hope that as we wrap up this episode, that what you're hearing me say is that you are welcome here, and that I trust you, and that I trust me, and that I feel confident in this direction because I believe in love and I believe in you. So bear with me. I hope that you'll stick around. Regardless of your faith, I hope that I can provide value to you and that you finish every single interaction with me, whether it's on the podcast or on my Instagram or in my stories, that you walk away from those experiences knowing that you're enough and you are loved exactly for being you. Thank you, friends. Until next time, this is Shawna Clingerman and the Fearless Podcast with Shawna Clingerman. You can find me on social media at Shawna Clingerman, and you can find this podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube if you want to watch me make awkward faces along the way. Thank you for being here, friends. Come find me and share your heart. I want to hear your thoughts on what I shared today. And I want to say thank you to you for creating a space for me, because I am a better person because of my interaction with each of you. Thank you, friends.